Yes, everyone, welcome back to Five. Stephen Howson, Danny Murphy here to preview United versus Liverpool this weekend. Danny, not having a good season, your lads, are they?
No, well, you know what it's like, isn't it? You go well for a while, and then there's always a little tricky spell somewhere down the line. Let's just hope it doesn't last as long as your mob. How many years was it when Fergie left? I mean, no one could have predicted it. You know, there's a lot of people now say, well, we knew we needed midfielders and blah, blah, blah. I didn't hear them at the beginning of the season saying that. Not too many people were coming out saying Liverpool are going to struggle. I think it's been a surprise to everyone, but you know they've got a chance to redeem themselves with getting in the top four. That's all they've got, isn't it?
I think you're right. At the start of the season, no one predicted this. I had Liverpool finishing first, and I wasn't on my own. Where did you have them finishing?
I was struggling at the time to see how anyone was going to overtake City. They just kept getting the job done. It was becoming a bit boring and tedious, to be honest. But I had City first, Liverpool second. I didn't see this demise. I mean, the home form's been all right, mate. To be fair, they've only lost one at home, the Leeds game. I know they've not played as well, but the home form's been fine. It's been on the road, hasn't it? It's on the road. They've really struggled.
Yeah, I mean, your home form's been sort of historically quite good under Klopp anyway. I'd done my own match preview for this, and I think United fans are going into this quite buoyant because of some of the performance we've had recently, but I'd never see us as favourites going to Anfield, ever. Even when we were winning everything, I wouldn't ever consider us favourites going there. On the City point, I actually thought Haaland might upset the balance. Not that he wouldn't be individually successful. Just thought the way he plays is so different to what Manchester City play like. I thought he might, put a little bit of sand in the engine. And even though you kind of look at his performances, you go, well, he's doing what he's meant to do. There is a more vulnerability about the way City play, in my opinion, since he joined. And I'm not saying it's because of him, but it's since he joined, if you know what I mean.
I think it's more because Pep has started tweaking and messing around at the back more than he ever has with personnel, with this inverted fullback, sometimes three at the back like they did at Anfield, which was ludicrous. I think it's more him messing around a little bit and tweaking than actually Haaland signing. I think the other factor is, which has been important, is the amount of goals that Sterling and Jesus gave. You know, they although you might argue that they've got players now who have overtaken them in terms of ability. You look at Mahrez, Foden, Grealish, all top players. Of course they are. But the goals and assists from Sterling and Jesus are not easy to replace. You've got Mahrez is proven. You know, I think he was top scorer last year, if my facts are right. So you know what you're getting with him. But the Foden, he does get you double figures, but he hasn't played as much recently for whatever reason. Grealish starting to play better, but does he get the same numbers as Jesus and Sterling? Maybe he will in time. But I think there's been a few factors. The worrying thing I say worrying, the thing that you've got to look at with City is they are still there or thereabouts, even though they've lost those sources of goals and assists, the pace of those two, and also the amount of tweaking he's done with the back line and the formation. They're still thereabouts. That's the concern.
You look at the players he took out of the team. That team that he's took out of the team would probably win the league, really. He took the right players out of it. Back on you, lads, then. So, at the start of the season, I thought you'd probably nudge yourselves back over the line. And I agree, nobody was talking about a lack of midfield. And to be honest, I think you've got 6 first-team midfielders. I don't think there's a lack of midfield in there. What do you think the problem is?
I think it's been an accumulation of things. I think there was, of course, a little bit of a hangover from last season, coming so close to such greatness and then falling off at the last minute, playing every game. That's got to have a factor. I also think, and I've remained consistent with this, is that I think the start of the season, anyone who's watched Liverpool a lot, there was a complacency about the play. You know, they were turning up in games thinking they just had to turn out and win. I mean, the obvious players at the back, Trent was talked about, Virgil, even Matip, people who'd been so reliable, just making mistake after mistake. Fabinho fell off a little bit physically. I think too many Liverpool players have not been worried about the place for too long. And I think the start of the season, that complacency was there. Some managers, Julio used to call it the comfort zone. And when you get in that comfort zone, no matter how good you are, what you're earning, it's not about the money. It's just about my place is all right. I'm a bit of a ledge. It worked, you know. I've been there. I got comfortable playing a lot of games, and all of a sudden, you're out the team and thinking, "What have I done? How's this happened?" You know. But I had competition for places. Some of these lads haven't for a long, long time. So I think that was part of it. Then, of course, confidence goes a little bit. Criticism comes. The spotlight becomes on the players. Everyone starts talking about them differently. Instead of Liverpool are great, Van Dijk's the best in the world, Trent's the best in the world. This conversation, this narrative changes a little bit, so your confidence drops. Mane was a loss, especially compounded by Diaz's injury. Because just on that quickly, you know, there's a bit of a myth going, Mane, who I loved, by the way, is my favourite Liverpool player for many years. Diaz came in, and I did a comparison on the numbers of Diaz compared to Mane for an equal amount of games until he got injured, and he was pretty much the same in terms of goals, assists, high intensity, balls won back. Diaz was a perfect replacement. It's just that he's been missing now for quite a long time. But going back to your question, I think the confidence drained, and then tweaking with the team, the injuries as well. And all of a sudden, a little bit, the fear factor, teams were starting to play Liverpool and think, you know what, we can get after them. We can go at them instead of sitting off them and give them respect, going after them a little bit. So it's now become more of a blip, hasn't it? It's going to be a rebuild in the summer. It's going to need 4 or 5 new faces, energetic, young, hungry, tenacious players. I think we're all right in forward departments, 5 or 6 players competing there. So yeah, it's gonna need some money, and the big question is, of course, is how much are they going to give him? That's going to be the problem.
Yeah, I've been someone that's been highlighting Trent's laziness. I think that's the only way to call it this season. There's times when someone goes past him and he gives up, and if he didn't give up, he'd 100% have either got back inside, made the block. There's one where he runs off onto the line and the ball's still in play. If you was in a dressing room with a player doing that sort of thing, what sort of things would you be saying to him? Do you think someone's in there highlighting these things to him?
There doesn't seem to be too much barking going on, especially on the pitch, what I can see. We saw, I don't know if you remember the Old Trafford game earlier in the season, Milner and Van Dijk having it out. When Van Dijk didn't come out to get I think it was Sancho who scored. Milner's the type to give it, but he's not as prominent anymore. Henderson's probably the only one you think. But no, I don't think we see enough of that. I mean, I was, in my Liverpool days, if you didn't track a runner or didn't chase someone once they'd gone past you, I had Carragher in me every minute of every game. And that was normal. That was standard. Even Ince at the beginning. Ince was the captain when I first went in the team. I think it's a good point you make. It is somebody. I mean, there's got to be people at the club analysing his defending and going over the bits on videos and trying to improve it in training. I think the question is, I look at it and I think, is it laziness? So is it physical? Is it mental? So
it's
when I say
early part of games sometimes.
Yeah, so it's more mental than physical, whereas you're switching off, losing concentration. I don't know about lazy because he's supposed to be a really fit lad in terms of all the running stats, in terms of the testing they do. He's supposed to be one of the fittest. So I don't know. It's been baffling for someone. I mean, he's been amazing for a long time. He's played a lot of games. And as I said to you before, if you've not got someone biting at your heels for your place, you know, the extra yard you need to put in, the extra run, the extra sprint you're talking about, you just don't do it. It's not like you're thinking, I'm going to be lazy. Does it matter? I'll make up for it in 5 minutes. The other end with a cross, or I'm not sure. I think the help he gets is a big problem. Jordan hasn't played as much this season, especially the first half of the season for some reason. So that was a miss, having him helping. Trent, Elliott played there, who's not as defensively good as Jordan. We know that. Salah, I mean, I don't know whether he's told not to run back and help his fullback, but he doesn't.
I think that's instruction, me. I think he's so deadly on a transition that I think that you leave him there to be effective and get you up the pitch when you win the ball back. I think.
The thing is now, the thing is, in Premier League football now, you can't carry anyone. So United is a great example now.
Oh, we do it with Rashford, though. Rashford's another one that does exactly the same thing. He doesn't track back, and it looks like it's instruction to me.
Yeah, but I'm sure I still think he does his fair. He does enough. I think on occasion, depending on the opposition, he might stay higher. But if you look at they brought Weghorst in, who's not a world beater, we know that. But he fits the mould for the amount of graft he does for a striker. I mean, it's no coincidence. I know he's not scoring, and I know he's not the answer long term. But Ten Hag knew what he was doing, bringing him in, because he complements the others around him, and he does it. He links the play. He's always back in his own half, fighting, nicking it off midfielders. I mean,
you
don't carry players anymore,
didn't you? You had this with Firmino.
Yeah, great example. Yeah, really good example. And actually, Firmino had one of Liverpool's best spells this season, which didn't last long. Was when he was playing well and scoring. So yeah, it's now a case of getting a bit more legs, energy, but more importantly, I think it's hunger. I think that is the key. Players who are desperately hungry to succeed and improve. And maybe a few of the Liverpool players, and I didn't see it coming, but maybe a few of them have just reached a level and they've just got a little bit comfortable.
Do you know what, Danny? I did. The way that you guys celebrated winning the title in 2020, I said at the time, I'll try and find my own tweet from it. And I said, they're not winning it again. And I don't know why. There was just a feeling that it was like, I saw United win a lot of titles, and there was a matter of factness about the title celebration. And then the next day it was back to work. We got to retain it. And I felt like the celebrations lingered a little bit. It felt like they over celebrated. It felt like that was all they was here to do. And there was a feeling that was all they were going to do. So I'm not shocked. I think I did a video at the time saying they've peaked. That's it. I
think yeah, it's nice to look back and sometimes get something right, but you also have to take into consideration. I know their title defense was poor, but last year they amassed however many points it was it 1 point behind City in the end that would have won the league on at least 90% of the other occasions. So it's not like they've fallen off a cliff because of that. But I think the competition's getting better. I think, look, this weekend is a huge game for both clubs. I said something the other day that it's a bigger game for Liverpool this Sunday because United can lose it, still finish in the top four, still win 2 or 3 trophies and have a wonderful season. So United go into it really, I'm sure they won't, but with that bit of freedom to actually go, all right, the fans will be disappointed, but if we lose this, they're not out of anything. The only worry I've got for United, by the way, United go on.
You're out of the very unlikely Premier League race that we're not quite in, but we're not quite out of. Like, if Arsenal lose 3 games over the next 16 or whatever it is left, 15 left, then you are in it. But I think I'm reluctant to say we're in a title race because I think that the gap is unbridgeable, but it is done if we lose any of the next 4 or 5 games.
Well, I'll tell you why I think United aren't in it. They've lost to City and Arsenal away. They've got to play Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle away. And they didn't win at Chelsea away. So they failed at Chelsea, Arsenal, City. And now you expect them, because they're playing a bit better, to go to Liverpool, Tottenham and Newcastle and win. All of them, because they've got to keep winning.
Yeah,
so
with the lack of rotation and the fact that we're still competing on all fronts this deep into the season when no one's had a rest. Yeah. Ultimately, I was talking about this yesterday and I said, when this inevitably crumbles, I want people to remember it isn't the players and it isn't the manager. It's just the timing of the schedule that's done us. The 11 what we've got is great. Beyond that, not so much. So give us a couple more seasons and I think we will be very, 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 very competitive team.
I think you're competitive anyway. I think it's hard, even if you've got a better squad, to keep rotating correctly and keep getting the results right. You look at City with their squad; they're not winning 3 and 4 trophies every season, are they? It's not easy, no matter what. Maybe they shouldn't, maybe they shouldn't. But I think United this weekend have got. How can you say it in a Liverpool United game? But in a way, it is a free hit for them. I don't think many United fans expect them to win the league even now. They didn't at the beginning of the season. If anything, you've more or less, you're pretty much nailed on for top four, which is what you would have taken. You've already got the League Cup. And to be honest, I don't see anybody other than Arsenal in the Europa League, what to worry about.
It's just fixtures, isn't it? It's just, can we get through the amount of fixtures required to get all the way to Budapest? I got to pull you up on this, Danny. You said we should have appointed Gareth Southgate instead of Ten Hag. Do we want to reverse that one, or are we sticking?
Well, I'll reverse it, but I'll give you some context, because what I said was, we were talking about, why doesn't he get looked at?
He's gashed, Danny. That's why.
Well, I think with some of the names that were being mentioned, and even Ten Hag, really, who's done magnificently well, by the way, I have to say that. He's managed Ajax, but most managers who manage Ajax do well. So it wasn't really a CV that guarantees success at Man United. Far from it. They've had many managers in before him who've got much better CVs and failed. So it was a bit like they're taking a risk with whoever. My conversation at the time was, Southgate was doing well, and I thought, would he be in the conversation? But I have to say that sometimes you think about things and then you wait for the proof in the pudding, don't you? Ten Hag has got nearly everything right. He's making big decisions in terms of recruitment, in terms of Ronaldo's situation, in terms of formation, in terms of where he's playing Rashford, what he's done with Sancho. Has he got one wrong? I can't think.
I'm struggling to see anything that you could tangibly say that he's got wrong. The way he handled Ronaldo, I think he didn't want him to stay in the summer, and I think he was overruled. And then he allowed what played out to play out. I think even the decision to drop him from the squad altogether when he refused to come on, that was handled well. The Maguire situation with any other player and agent might have been completely toxic for the club. That's been handled fantastic. Marcus Rashford's form, he's got to take a hand in some of the credit for that. Playing Luke Shaw at centre-half over the club captain as a centre-half, and it working, sensational. Moving Weghorst into the 10 and just completely switching up the whole system that we've been doing. His half-time substitutions, his handling of the Garnacho situation. The fact that, we did start poorly, but all you can ever ask is that he learns. And we get our arse handed to us by City in the derby away. They score 6. By the time they come to Old Trafford, we beat them. What a turnaround! The record at home, Old Trafford is a fortress again. Like we just pointed out, the points that we're dropping tend to be away, which is why I'm not as confident as I would like to be coming into this game. But I think we rested fairly well, got away with it a little bit against West Ham midweek, and the resilience that we're showing to come back and professionalism to just win games. I think it'll be a tasty game. I think it'll be one of the more competitive ones. Certainly not like the 5-0 we had at Old Trafford last year. No. It was one of the worst performances I've ever seen.
I have just thought something Ten Hag didn't get right. His Polar necks.
Do you know what? I love that they get talked about, because you've got nothing else to talk about.
I know.
That's all they're talking about.
I can't have a go over being bald because he's in my club. It's just the polar necks are a bit, they're not a bit of me. I don't know if you can rock a few, but I think he might need to improve a little bit in that department.
Talk to me how you see the game going on Sunday then.
I think Liverpool will come out 100 miles an hour. They've got to try and unsettle this Man United side, a bit like they did in the Madrid game. Problem is with Madrid, of course, is that they didn't change after having that half-hour burst. They couldn't maintain it and got picked apart. But you've got to unsettle this United side and not make them comfortable. They've got too many players, United, who are big game players who have been there, done it, and got the T-shirt. Varane, Martinez, Shaw, all used to Casemiro. The list's endless. They've got players who won't be fazed by going to Anfield. So you've got to get after them and unsettle them and not let them get comfortable taking touches, press high for 20 minutes, half an hour, and see if you can just get the first goal. My big concern for Liverpool is if they lose the first goal, because what I've seen from United recently is great game management. I'm talking about being able to sit in, not go after the game, defend their box, not worry about it if they haven't got the ball. They're not obsessed with possession. I do worry if Liverpool don't get the first goal, I have to be honest with you. So I think it will be... I'd be amazed if Klopp didn't do his normal and just try and get the crowd right behind them, get after United, and get that first goal, and then hopefully manage the game better. Selection's going to be interesting for Liverpool. He's tweaked it with Núñez. I like Núñez. He's a physical, eager, hungry player. I like his tenacity. Yes, he's a bit raw at times, but he's played him off the left quite a lot. And I like him down the middle. I like him down the middle because it gives you an aerial threat when the ball goes in the box. And sometimes on the left, especially against good teams, he's using too much energy defending, going back with fullbacks. I'd like to see him play down the middle, not Gakpo. Play Gakpo wide.
Yeah. Casemiro, how important is he going to be to United? I mean, if this was at Old Trafford, I'd be sitting here telling you that we're going to beat you. But on the road, I'll take a point if it's an offer right now, to be honest. But what do you see Casemiro's role being in this? For me, I think people need to start talking about him as player of the year.
He's absolutely sensational. He is, honestly. He's got better and better this season. I think his ability to spot danger, fill holes and defend, mixed with his ability to nick a goal and play a through ball. I mean, let's not forget Casemiro. He's a holding midfielder. But when he chooses the moment to go forward, he impacts the game with his creativity. Let's get that right. He can be very creative, Casemiro. He's got both. He's known for the doggedness. He's known for the intelligence of filling in spaces and helping out his defenders. But his contribution going the other way is what's really impressed me.
We didn't see enough of this at Madrid, did we? This is something that we've seen an extra gear unlocked of since he's come to United.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also helps him when Fred's playing with him, because he knows that when he goes forward a bit more, because with Eriksen and Fernandes, we're both technicians, and it's fine at home against the majority of teams. I think when Fred plays, it gives him a bit more license, and he thinks, you know what, I can go and have a wander a bit, because Fred does the hard yards going back the other way as well. So I think that's helped him a little bit, especially in the bigger games. He will play his normal game. He's not going to change his role. It's more about if Liverpool decide to... See, Liverpool generally play a 4-3-3, as you know. Not a number 10. It's a holding and two midfielders either side. And basically what you're saying, that you're giving Casemiro too much space. Who's the one who's going to go and press him and stop him dictating the game? That's a little plan that Klopp might have to think about, because if you leave him alone, he dictates play, dictates the game. And it's a big ask for whoever's going to do that if someone is given that role. But he has been the biggest plus for Man United, their best signing. And actually, just to, I know I've watched a lot of your debates on, and I am a fan of Partey as well, but they're not, you can't compare the two. You know, Casemiro's a step ahead, I'm afraid. Partey's a very good player and crucial to Arsenal moving forward, but he can't do some of the things Casemiro does. Can't do.
Yeah. And oh, here he is. He's on mute. That would have been a really good intro if he'd have come in with some audio, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, yeah, well, we're going to have to wait till the end of the season for that one, guys. I'm sure if we win the league, there's going to be some sort of argument. I'll go back.
No, well, he's in the team. It's a team winning the league. I mean, Rodri, you could put Rodri in there as being brilliant as well as an holding midfielder, but it's Casemiro and Partey. It's two players who are really brilliant at the role, but Casemiro gives you things going that way that Partey doesn't really. On the odd occasion, Partey might put one in, but not many. He doesn't create as much as Casemiro.
Let's talk in May, Danny.
Right, Danny, give us your prediction then for Sunday.
I think United will get a draw. They won't win. I think it'll be a draw. I don't. If not a draw, Liverpool will edge it, but I can't see United winning, only because of their big away games this season. They haven't really showed up.
Apart from Barcelona.
Well, if you call a draw showing up.
We put it on them, though. We did.
You did actually. Seeing Barcelona last night, I watched the game. That makes United's result seem even more impressive. And I tell you what is worrying, if the relationship between Ten Hag and De Jong, because I don't know if you watched the game last night, he is a player, by the way.
He was a bit good, wasn't he? And I think there's something here, right? All of the Champions League talk and everything last season, the fact that we were still constantly in for him after we'd essentially been told no, and the fact that we've gone back again this summer, I think the only explanation for those actions, because actions speak far louder than words, in my opinion, and the fact that United seem to be still in the mix for him, the only thing I can think is he's gone, I need to get my contract sorted. Let me get paid. Let me sort that out, and I'm there for you. And if I'm sure they've got enough of a relationship between Ten Hag and De Jong that he could have told him directly, early doors, I've got no interest in joining United. And that would have ended that. I don't think Ten Hag just keeps pestering. So I'm pretty sure that if there's an opportunity for De Jong to sort, he's owed like 18 million or something here. Who's going to turn that away? Who's going to turn that away to come and live in Salford? You're not going to do it, right? So I think if he sorts his contract out, comes to an agreement with Barcelona on the money that he's owed, I think that you could see them reunited, and I think that'd be what a player that would be for us. What a player!
Well,
I mean,
they also have to sell. They've got to recoup over 100 million, 100 and some, maybe nearly 200 million. I think 180 million Barca have got to recoup. So he's going to get them a big chunk of that if they let him go. But yeah, he would, in effect, he'd play where Eriksen's playing. Alongside Casemiro, wouldn't he? And Eriksen would be used more of a squad player. And that's probably why he went for Eriksen when he didn't get De Jong, because he is creative like De Jong. De Jong, obviously, a bit more athletic, bit better in terms of receiving off the back players, but he'll also give you that creative aspect. He's a super talent, would be a big addition for them. Really big for United.
If we manage to get him over the line, you've then got the likes of Sabitzer and Fred and Eriksen and Bruno alongside Casemiro. You've started to build a really strong squad that I actually would believe could go and compete on multiple fronts week in, week out across the full length of a season, because they'd all play 30-odd games each, all of them. And that would be, good coverage of as long as you need it to be for the season. Right, Danny, thanks for joining us. I love seeing Liverpool fans this pessimistic. Tells me that we're in for it. Nice one. We'll catch you lot in the next one.
Enjoy the game, mate.
Your score predictions down below. There's only one way to enjoy it, Danny, and that's to win it.
Yeah.
See you in the next one. Later.